We start with another gruesome day on Wall Street. Another quadruple-digit loss for the Dow, which is on pace to shed 3,000 points in 2 days. The reason, once again, is President Trump's global trade war. This morning, China became the first country to retaliate against the United States, slapping a 34% tariff on American-made goods. And yet, there was also some good news for the U.S. economy this morning, a much stronger than expected jobs report. The economy added 228,000 new jobs in March. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich is at the New York Stock Exchange. Vanessa, let's start with the chairman of the Fed. What did he say today, and how does that play into the overall economic picture?
Yeah, Dana, and just as he's been speaking, we've seen the NASDAQ and the S&P drop more than 4%. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, saying today that the tariffs were much more aggressive than they anticipated, that inflation is likely to rise and could linger longer, and we're headed for an economic slowdown. Listen to what he said just moments ago.
Looking ahead, higher tariffs will be working their way through our economy and are likely to raise inflation in coming quarters. While uncertainty remains elevated, it is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. The size and duration of these effects remains uncertain.
Now, reporters in the room also asked Jerome Powell whether he believes that the economy is headed for a recession. He would not answer that.
There is a very real possibility, and this is kind of terrifying to think about, that at some point Trump uses Doge to oust Jeremy Powell, and it puts a crony in there, and they cut interest rates to nothing, and we enter the true, like, ultimate final boss showdown timeline of global economic collapse. The ultimate cool zone. Yeah, the coolest zone of them all. It's not impossible, you know? Like, inflation rises, the interest rate rises in an effort to cut inflation, but it's not enough because the tariffs are so high. You know, Trump continues, because he keeps doing this, continues to put pressure on Jeremy Powell to say, like, you know, I should lower the interest rate, but he doesn't. Obviously, it would be illegal to oust Jeremy Powell, but, you know, that doesn't matter. Powell is, like, massively popular, right? Well, it's not about his popularity. It's that the Fed is a neutral, politically independent agency. And the ousting, for one, the ousting of the chair of the Fed would be seen by the markets as a sign of unbelievable instability. Like, the direct interference in the Fed by the government would be like a Jesus H. Christ, they have, like, dipped their hands in the ley line moment right there. That's like Elon Musk dipping his balls in the Treasury's disbursement system kind of deal. It would be, like, seen as horrifying, because it is. And then cutting the interest rates to zero or anything like it, well, is the Fed not the federal government? No, the Fed's an independent institution. Obviously, there's a lot of, like, asterisks here, but, like, yeah.
But we know J.P. Morgan revised their recession outlook up from 40% before President Trump announced these tariffs on April 2nd to 60%. And you can see just what the stock market has done over time since President Trump took office in January. Just a steep decline on the NASDAQ, the S&P, and on the Dow. Just a precipitous decline, especially in this last week, as investors are craving some sort of uncertainty, Dana. Doesn't look like they're getting that right now.
Yeah, they definitely
some kind of certainty?
I mean, if you just look at that graph that we had up next to you, Vanessa, that is very, very telling. I do want to ask you about those job numbers. They are better than expected. How does that sort of play into the tariff news? And are they connected at all?
It is certainly a signal that the labor market is solid heading into the trade war. Remember, this is backwards looking. We're looking at March numbers. There was an increase in hiring, a big pickup. We thought it was going to be around 130,000. It's at 220.
Keep in mind that this is about March. This isn't about, like, what's happened the past couple of days. So it's not really relevant to what we're looking at with the tariffs. Earlier, Kowalski said this might be in part because of a milder end winter season, which might have led to an increase in construction work being done early in a lot of parts of the United States. Of course, in a lot of the world, construction basically stops during the winter because you can't build on top of ice. You need to wait for it to thaw. So the thawing in the Northeast early might have led to rehiring of construction workers earlier than expected. I think that's I would have to substantiate that, I guess, but I think that's a reasonable partial explanation. It's not really relevant to like Trump's governance, certainly.
28,000 jobs added, the unemployment rate ticking up just slightly to 4.2%. But investors I've spoken to say that this is really ancient news at this point. They're looking forward to the trade war. They don't feel like this trade war has been captured in that March report at all. But what it does signal is that the labor market is strong and could sort of soften the blow of a recession if that's coming. One investor told me that if we back out of this trade war now, we are likely to avoid a recession because of this stronger report.
Unbelievable, Coke. That's the guy. That's the guy who bought in thinking it was the dip when the jobs report came out. That one guy right there. Oh, everything's fine.
Investors are really looking for some sense of certainty right now, and a lot of what they're getting is uncertainty around this trade war, especially as we're now hearing retaliatory measures from countries like China.
With stocks plummeting and markets in turmoil, President Trump is sounding to drive inflation.
I'm not listening to you, man. I'm not listening to you. You're the reason we're in this goddamn mess. Not entirely, but I still hate you, like so much. Get him off the screen. Get his ass out of here. Get his ass out of here. Yeah, it's time for us to look at the opposition. We got some shit to look at. Come on, he's chat's favorite person to hate. Yeah, but he's not even fun to watch, though. Give Pelosi some credit, too. Dude, Schumer is like 7 tiers above Pelosi in hateability. Pelosi actually does seem to hate. Did you guys see that, I think it was a book describing an interaction, or maybe it was like a testimonial from a Republican, but it was saying back when Pelosi was the House leader, the then Republican House Minority Leader would despise the meetings that she would hold to discuss like future House events and strategies because she would show up and basically berate them for 10 minutes before doing anything productive. Like Pelosi would start the meeting and be like, so you're incompetent and stupid and I hate you and you're a Republican piece of shit and so on and so on. The one thing you have to give Pelosi credit for is that she legitimately despises Republicans. That's not enough to be a good person, but it is true. When Pelosi was a child, she would go around her neighborhood making a list of who was loyal to the Democrats and who was an enemy. Well, when she was a child, wasn't like FDR the president? That was probably the right thing to do. Back when FDR was the president. If I was living in the FDR presidency, I would be doing like Red Scare shit, but the other way around. I'd be going door to door being like, are you affiliated with any members of the Republican Party? Have you attended any like business consultation groups in the past 30 days? Do you know anyone who did not vote for FDR in the previous 4 elections or something? Make a damn list. I don't even know who ran against FDR because they're consigned to the dustbin of history, you know? Who the cares who ran against FDR? Alf Landon. Okay, that doesn't even sound like a real name. Get real. Elon Musk has been awfully quiet since the Wisconsin Supreme Court vote dropped. Not just since the Wisconsin Supreme Court vote dropped, but also since internal reports saying that he would be soon ousted from the Republican, from the cabinet dropped. He is not happy right now. He's having a ketamine-fueled bender. 100%. Like, he's definitely going through it at the moment. He's not very stable. Hold on. I want to hear more explanations from evil people as to why bad things are good. Trump digs in as markets melt down over tariffs. Great time to get rich. Love that. Love like the triggering the libs rhetoric being employed on a stock market crash. Markets melting down over tariff. Markets triggered out of their goddamn gourd over these tariffs. Could you not put like Big Red here, or the lady who was screaming after Trump won 9 years ago? You know who I'm talking about. Like in the background? Like maybe like right here behind the stock market board? Markets are... Did you just assume my stock's gender? Oh, this would be like a really good bit, you know? Like a Fox News columnist or a member of Trump's cabinet going on CNN or whatever, and the CNN anchor is like, yeah, so the Dow Jones, it's Monday, it's Monday, April 7th, and we woke up to like a 9 percentage point drop in Dow. What's going on? And the Howard Lutnick is like, did you just assume the Dow's number or something like that? And then just like 23 seconds of dead air as they stare at each other. That'd be good television.
Open, and you might want to turn away, or maybe not. It's 2 days now. The news is tough out there now with the tariff announcement. Already in 5 minutes of trading, we're off about 2.5% for the Dow 30, so we're below 40,000 now for the first time in some time, say about a year. On the broader market, the S&P 500 trading lower about 2.5 percentage points. The NASDAQ is down even more at 3%. So in the past 30 minutes, the president, who is now in Florida at Doral,
can I get like
for
a
the
person
Live event
talking?
He posted.
Wait, who's talking? Wait, did they normally do stuff like this? And I feel like I'm watching a live streamer who's insecure about their chin. Why am I not looking at a person?
So the many investors coming to the United States and investing massive amounts into the week.
What we do, we put ourselves in the driver's seat.
It's that with Trump's Liberation Day plan, he's delivering on one of his campaign.
I used to hate Trump. Now I'm a MAGA lefty. From Batya Ungar Sargon. What the? I wanna employ a racial stereotype, but I don't even know what the that's from. I was gonna for a second. I was gonna say like Indian. Like this is like. It's like how 90% of the time when you're on Twitter and there's a person proclaiming the superiority of the white race, they're either like Indian, Filipino, or, you know, from Central America.
Campaign promises. She is our guest now. I'm sorry about that, but your name is unusual, but people are going to get to know you. You wrote a column
with a Hebrew star necklace. Okay. Now I actually really want to know where the her name came from. I'm so curious. Where the they're commenting on it. She's a grifter? Yeah, no shit. She's calling herself a MAGA lefty. She's an Israeli Newsweek editor. Okay.
Column that is getting a lot of attention. It said this: how did he steal the working class from the Democrats? Well, in the most obvious way, by purloining their pro-labor agenda. He has enforced the border and is now instituting widespread tariffs, implementing a broad protectionist agenda committed to reshoring manufacturing and giving the working class a boost, the likes of which we haven't seen since the New Deal. Tell me about your column and the reaction to it.
Do you know, it's so amazing. This morning on one of the liberal channels, I saw a Democrat congressman, and he was just sitting there saying, I have no idea why President Trump is doing this. They simply cannot understand why he is.
All right. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get much from this lady. Hold on one second. Batya Ungar Sargon. First thing that pops up on Twitter. People often ask me how I deprogrammed my Trump derangement syndrome. The journey was long. I wrote about it in my initial official column at the Free Press, which is offering you guys 15% off an annual subscription 1 year. Grifting used to mean something, man. Grifting used to mean something. Maybe it didn't. It used to be a real country. I need more ideology. I need sincere ideology. Give me real shit.
Will American workers make shirts and garments for the same, obviously the labor cost is so much cheaper overseas in those places. So how's that going to work, Secretary?
Well, I think that that's exactly what the president talked about in the Rose Garden when he was talking to the American worker and to the people and saying, we're going to onshore, repatriate some of these companies to invest in America directly, so that we can build that workforce, we can retrain, we can upskill, and we can have the American worker be paying attention to what's happening on the ground. I mean, that's the goal with these tariffs that the president has imposed, is that he wants fair trade practices.
How long do you think it will take, to build garment factories in this country? And what is the role of AI in many of those jobs that we understand could be easily replaced by AI?
Well, I think the goal is to have a blend and a mix. And working with my colleagues.
Didn't Howard Lutnick earlier literally say that it's not going to be American workers who get jobs in the factories that are built here because of the cost of paying American workers here, but rather it would be AI and automation? It was Lutnick that time, right? That time it wasn't the other one? I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find that. Automation. Ah, why can't I find it? God damn it, I can't find it. Somebody needs to find that. Oh, here we go.
Now, we're not going to have all factories come back. Like clothing manufacturing, that's tough to bring back. But what kind of manufacturing are you talking about returning here?
Well, you can't just give that away. See, what's going to happen is robotics are going to replace the cheap labor that we've seen all across the world. I mean, think of what our factories did. They went to the cheapest labor in the whole world, slave labor, cheap labor, the worst environmental conditions, polluting the heck out of it. And then we bring back those cheap products here and we feel good about ourselves because we don't see the pain. But
I thought the point was bringing jobs back. I'm a mechatronics technician by training. Robots are not replacing shit lamau. I mean, they certainly are for like auto manufacturing. Automation has been huge in a bunch of fields, not necessarily so much in like garment manufacturing, but for a lot of stuff, yeah. It's just like the whole point is bringing jobs back, right? Give me Fox Business.
Plant in Romeo, Michigan, in Macomb County. But all of a sudden, now that we're trying to bring these products back, these components and these vehicles back to the United States, all of a sudden, all the so-called experts are
auto workers for Trump leader
saying it's going to plunge us into recession and be terrible for the economy.
Yeah.
So thank God. If they're crying, I think we're doing something right.
It's interesting, Brian, because we're seeing also Mercedes possibly moving production here. We're seeing, Honda, as you pointed out, Hyundai, Stellantis, also Volkswagen and Volvo. We're hearing news that may be coming into the U.S. But we'd like to get your reaction.
Yeah, we'll see when the job numbers get posted, okay? Like, it's easy to say. Trump has been bragging about bringing manufacturing back since his first term. It never happened. So, are they? No.
To this. Remember how former President Barack Obama said Trump cannot bring back manufacturing jobs? Washington for the last 2 generations has spent the U.S. deep into a $37 trillion debt hole and opened the borders and let industry leave. Let's get your reaction to what President Obama said. Watch.
Some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back.
You want to know the main reason why Obama is right here? And something that no one in media is discussing? Keep in mind, the car companies that manufacture here in America, or sorry, that they want to manufacture here in America, would be selling their products overseas too. How does it make any sense for a factory in China to massively increase costs moving to America when they then have to raise the cost of the goods they sell to the entire world to compensate for the increased cost of manufacturing in America, when they could just make it in China, send it to America, have the consumer in America pay the tariff, and then sell it at regular price to everyone else? How does that make any sense? These tariff calculations only made sense, and they never made sense, but they made more sense back when you didn't have like constant international trade. But now, if you move into the country that has higher labor costs, you have to increase the price where you sell everywhere. You think that they're going to do that when that would decrease their sales to every country on earth? It makes absolutely no sense. Not that they care,
He's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is
Obama. You shouldn't. He's the reason we're in this mess.
He doesn't have an answer, but they're going to have to retrain for the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past.
Remember that the only meaningful political weigh-in that Obama has had since no longer being president is getting the moderates in the 2020 presidential election to band together to make sure that Bernie Sanders didn't win in the primary. Okay? He said he'd do a lot. He didn't. Yeah, he's a smart, charismatic guy. Sorry, an ally of the working class that does not make.
Brian, you take away the voice, you take away the person, just let me back up. You just listen to the voice, listen to what's being said. The answer there was always more spending. It was nothing about what can we do to bring jobs. It was always about the government can fix things, not letting the private sector fix things. We should point out under Barack Obama, there was a net 193,000 loss of manufacturing jobs. Under Trump, there was nearly 460,000 jobs created in his first term in the manufacturing sector. What do you think of Barack Obama here?
I believe that's misrepresentative. 1 second. Manufacturing jobs gained Trump's first term. We still lost manufacturing jobs throughout Trump's term. Let me just remind myself. Article from 2025, Trump misleads on jobs, da-da-da. No, I went from the first term. Last time he ran, he constantly talked about getting coal jobs back, and guess what didn't happen? Yeah. Dude, I'm literally not seeing any articles on this, apart from ones from things like the American Presidency Project, which when you click on the website, it pops up an ad asking you to donate to Trump. I'll look at this later.
Here.
Liz, he had given up on America. He wanted us to become a service-based economy.
We are a
service-based economy. He had given up on us having a manufacturing base. Well, that's a national security issue. If we can't build military vehicles in our own country, we have to rely on.
We can. You can have domestic manufacturing for military procurement, and then just not generally. Like auto manufacturers aren't national security. Also, the best national security is having like a dense trade and military defensive network, which we had before Trump started like tearing apart NATO and our alliances.
Other countries to build things for us. We are no longer a powerful nation. So Barack Obama basically had given up on America. When he said he was going to fundamentally change America, he was not lying. He did fundamentally try to change it. Well,
it is kind of cool to know that this has a parallel. We literally did this during the Industrial Revolution too. Like when factories started opening up in London and people flocked into the city to work in textile mills and so on and so forth, there were tons of people who were like, well, things were better back when everyone did subsistence farming, basically. We should like arbitrarily return back to the previous mode of production, even though nobody benefits from it. Not to say the Industrial Revolution was great for people.
Here to discuss live at the desk, professional capital management founder and CEO Anthony Pompliano, Breitbart economics and finance editor John Carney. John, looking at those markets, obviously the markets, I think, were just caught off guard by the way it was rolled out and the numbers that were thrown out. Because again, and this is Steve Moore's Committee to Unleash Prosperity, said these tariffs aren't reciprocal, that because they're calculated based on the concept that the trade deficit is the sum of all the unfair trade practices, the sum of all cheating. And he said, you know, poorer, smaller nations, of course, are going to have a giant trade deficit like Vietnam. And so you're really punishing these smaller countries the most. But how do you see it different?
So, yes, people underestimated how high the tariffs were going to go. I think a lot of people had built into their investment thesis the idea that they were scaring the markets about the tariffs and that they were going to come in with something weaker so that you would get a rally. Trump didn't go that way. And we're seeing right now that he's saying he doesn't care what the market's doing. He expected it to go down. He's willing to take that. The idea that Trump is scared of the markets should be once and for all done with. Nobody should. He's willing to take this.
I would hate to have a president who like cared about the health of the economy. I do think it's really funny that the Fox News comment section is the same like rally of Nazis, basically, that it always is. But on Fox Business, a lot of the people here, I'm guessing, because I don't think liberals are going out searching for Fox Business. I think these are more like moderate-leaning stock market investment bros who are like, or maybe like people who are more center-leaning but are relying on their 401ks. You know, the sensible market small business tyrant types who are getting increasingly pissed with the disparity between the rhetoric on the program and the state of their 401k.
downturn. But I do think that the complaint about how they calculate the reciprocal tariffs is a little bit
those are the Monday jumpers.
Because when they first announced it, the critics said, you can't calculate it the way you're saying. It's not possible to add up all of the tariffs different countries have and come up with a number that you're going to tariff that country. So then they said, okay, well, if it's not possible, let's do it another way. A way that Oren Cass has talked about for months now is the right way to do it.
What the f is this guy saying, by the way? He said, he's like, no one thought it possible to slam your dick in a car door, but Trump masterfully proved otherwise. What is he talking about? No one thought you could come up with one number to like summarize the total tariff relation between you and another country. And it turns out you can, you just have to make the number up. Like you have to just like arbitrarily determine one. Okay. Fascinating.
And when they reveal that, yes, this is how we did it in this way, they say, why didn't you do it in the way we told you was impossible? They were going to come out no matter what.
That's not necessarily a substantive defense of how they did it, though.
Well, I will say that unless somebody can show me a better proxy, we need tariffs.
Unless somebody can suggest for me a better thing to do with your dick in a car door than slamming it, then I don't know what to say. You need to do something between the two of them.
We need to set the world's trading on a better path. You go with the tools you have, not the ones that people wish you did. Unless somebody can show me a better proxy for calculating the tariff rates, and if they can...
This fucking is... If somebody couldn't produce a better fake number for me, please.
We might be able to adopt that. They should go call up Jamieson Greer and say, hey, guys, I got a better formula. I don't think that formula is going to produce tariffs that are a lot different than the ones we see on that chart. Because, frankly, the presumption that if you run a persistent large trade deficit or trade surplus against the U.S. and we have a trade deficit with you, that you have trade barriers is correct. This is not an accident. This isn't something that happens just naturally in an economy. If you have a persistent large trade deficit, then somebody has a trade barrier against you.
Does it get worse?
That's... I don't know. I just feel like he should be arrested for being wrong. I don't know. I'm just... The only way there could be a trade deficit between you and a different country is if there's a barrier? No? What if we just want to buy more stuff from them than they want to buy from us? What if Laos sells us textiles but can't buy our iPhones because they're poor? What do you mean? It's just these people are better. These people are better, like, I guess, advocates against liberal democracy than they think they are, but for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Because from their perspective, they're like, well, liberal democracy is bad because people are stupid, but like I'm the genius who has the ability to fix everything if you just put me in charge. And from my perspective, it's that thought process specifically is the thing that should get you thrown in idiot jail, in dumb retard jail. I want a big corner with a lot of dunce caps, and I want a lot of people sitting in stools facing the corner forever.
First, before it gets better, whether you're talking about the markets, whether you're talking about the economy?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to not get bogged down in what the critics want you to get kind of tied up in. And a big piece
like
of this is...
Like those jackasses we just showed.
Don't talk about, like, listen, okay? Number one thing you got to remember when talking about the stock market, don't talk about the line. Because that shit's irrelevant, okay? Don't talk about, like, the line or the numbers or how anything's doing, or the companies, or the economy in general, okay? Now, what we should talk about, Trump's Truth Social posts.
One is they want to sit there and they want to go ahead and they want to debate all this math with you, right? But it's like kind of having a store. And if you have a store and people are coming...
Oh, my God, man. I can't... When you're talking economics, don't let these liberal motherfuckers come at you, start talking about math, okay? Because that shit don't matter one bit. We need a lot more Emma Frost thigh jiggle.
in to buy things, how do you determine what the prices are? You may determine it one way, another store may determine another way. But ultimately, when the customer comes into the store, the price is the price. Either you pay the price or you don't. You can't sit there and actually negotiate and say, well, I don't like how you calculated what the price is going to be. And so that's the same thing with the tariffs. The price is...
You can, in a macroeconomical sense, yeah. As an individual, maybe you can't unless you're bartering, but in a macroeconomic sense, you absolutely can, and companies adjust prices all the time in response to these market forces. That's literally how stores determine their prices. What do you mean? They don't determine the price of their goods arbitrarily. They analyze the market, what people are willing to pay, and how much they can get away with charging, what their profit margins should be, what they can elevate the price to through advertisement. It's complicated. It's often arbitrary and evil, but it's still complicated.
The price, either people are going to pay it or they're not going to, and they're going to go somewhere else. And so I think that the market right now is trying to understand what exactly is going to happen because of these tariffs. And there's been a massive disservice. The problem that we're seeing in the market is actually because the American education system is so atrocious that we have had economic professors in this country teach people tariffs are inflationary, which they are not.
This is Fox Business. I'm gonna... We need the Emma Frost thighs up in the corner like a goddamn Subway Surfer, or like Family Guy clips on mute or something. I'm not kidding, man. I'm not joking with you. This is really difficult to cover. Would you watch this on your own time? It's agonizing. This is my country, man.
Not. They have taught them that tariffs will actually hurt the economy, which they will not. And they also will tell people that these tariffs are going to actually...
They'll tell you tariffs will hurt the economy, which they won't. Cuts to down 4, 5, 6, 6.5%.
A tax on the consumer. But what we see is, take Walmart as an example. Walmart went to their suppliers already and they said, guess what? You have a tariff on your country now. You are not going to raise the prices for the products that we're buying from you. Do
you think Emma Frost fits your hot for guys, cool as fuck for chicks rule? It's not a gender specific thing. It's that a good fan service, a character has to be both desirable and enviable. That's my rule. A character has to be, they have to be hot. Like, so if it's like a hot girl, which it usually is, they have to be hot, right, for fan service, I guess. But like a girl should be able to look at it and go, that's cool. I still think Cammy from Street Fighter 6 is the best example of this, at least in my mind. Or maybe Bayonetta, where like Bayonetta's obviously fan service, but also a bunch of people are like, holy cunt, I want to be her or something. It's like, that to me is like my baseline, I guess. I think that Emma Frost is a bit silly looking, you know? I think they should have done more with the clothing a little bit. There's nothing wrong with big thighs. Everyone loves Chun-Li. I think that she's a bit silly looking. People are apparently criticizing because like there are like 4 blonde women with blue and white outfits already in Marvel Heroes or something like that. So like or Marvel Rivals. So people are saying like there's a bit of an overlap in the design. I don't know. I don't play Marvel Rivals. I just see Squirrel Girl like porn. So I don't know.
Going to eat that cost because we're going to squeeze your margin, not to our consumer. And so all of a sudden, those tariffs, how are they inflationary if Walmart is refusing to pass that on to their customer? And so if you then go and you take a look at the inflation.
I'm sorry, what?
Your margin, not to our consumer. And so all of a sudden, those tariffs, how are they inflationary if Walmart is refusing to pass that on to their customer?
There's just things companies love doing. Things companies that operate on really narrow margins love doing. They love doing that shit, man. There's nothing companies like Walmart enjoy more than going, all of our products now cost significantly more to bring to market. So much so that a lot of them we're literally taking a loss at them at our current sell price. We're just going to keep our sell prices the same. We're just going to stop making money for our shareholders, even though we are fiscally obligated to do so and can be sued for not doing so. We're just going to like choose to stop making money and go bankrupt for fun.
And so if you then go and you take a look at the inflation, we have now been, 2 months into Trump's presidency, and he's been talking about tariffs. That's pretty much all he's been talking about for months now. Inflation has been crashing. And so if you go and you look at something like True...
In the stupid corner. They're not living in reality. Well, yeah, I mean, they're paid to lie. It really does make me wonder how much of it is like drinking the Kool-Aid and how much of it is knowing their lie. That's always the question, but doesn't matter. I torment myself with this time after time. Would I have been like this if I lived in Nazi Germany? If I was, hiding out somewhere there, or like trying to keep on the down low or whatever, would I be watching these speeches and I'd be like, does this Nazi official know that Jews didn't actually like curse the crops in the Southwest and cause a poor yield for the season? Does he think that they did and he believes it and he's just misguided, or is he knowingly lying? I think I need to free myself from this dynamic, because it's not relevant, really. I'm not talking directly to this guy, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be asking him questions like that. I would be like being very mean to him, to be honest with you. I would be quite rude to this young man who looks younger than me. I don't know. I wouldn't really be trying to convince him. I'd mostly just be like shouting. I need to like free myself of this. I don't know. It's all I think about. Like, how do they not know? Or do they know? Can they really know that they're lying and be that evil? All of them? Hundreds and thousands of people who are paid to lie? Like, without even convincing themselves? People usually try to work to believe that what they're doing is right, even if it takes a lot of self-delusion. I'm getting like existential over this, man.
Inflation over 3% in December in that inflation metric in real time. Now it's under 1.4%. And so actually the Fed is sitting there looking at a government data point that's completely wrong. Scott Bessent has come out and said he doesn't believe the economic data. And so the Fed should be cutting rates, and we should be much more worried about an economic slowdown rather than an economic acceleration with inflation.
So as other countries face the choice of negotiating or retaliating, moments ago, President Trump spoke.
The problem is that your job is to try to argue against him. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because there's no argument to be had, because he's saying things that are empirically incorrect about reality now. There's not even an argument. He literally just said inflation has been crashing since Trump took office. No, it hasn't. You can Google that. There's no argument here. This is entirely a rhetoric game. This has nothing to do with like making points, you know? We've come such a long way since 5 years ago, when the Trump supporters I argued against seemed to actually believe the stuff that they said they believed in. I don't know. We've come such a long way. You're still a consequentialist, right? Shouldn't the matter if he knows or not be irrelevant? Well, it does matter in the sense of like understanding how to change these systems broadly. And I'm also not sure which is worse, whether they've drank the Kool-Aid or not, right? It's probably a mix of both in all of them. Just people lean in different directions. There have to be severe consequences for lying like this in the future. Oh, look, all I'll say is that like in China, the level of willful incompetence being displayed by the administration's officials would, in that country, earn, at the very least, a punishment. And China is run much better than we are right now. I fundamentally... No. It's not a free speech overrated thing. I don't think it's free speech for billionaires to set up and broadcast media networks where they pay people to lie so the billionaires pay less in taxes. I don't think that's free speech. I don't think that's free speech.
To the potential to strike some deals here, let's listen.
Are you open to deals with these countries if they're calling you?
Well, it depends. If somebody said that we're going to give you something that's so phenomenal, as long as they're giving us something that's good.
You can't let your definition of free speech be constrained entirely by like the legal artifice. We're talking about philosophy here, right? Do you think not sedition, sorry. Or do you think slander is free speech? Like if a person sets out to lie and ruin your reputation, is it a violation of their free speech rights for you to like sue them in civil court? Probably not, right? Because they're using that speech to harm you. It's not just an expression of their opinion or belief. They're using dishonesty as a weapon to ruin your life. They're just doing that on a national scale. Like what they're doing now is leagues of magnitude, orders of magnitude greater, more bad than slander, right? They're weaponizing dishonesty not just to harm one person's life, but to destroy the country and to an extent like the global economy. And it is dishonesty. It's provably dishonest. There's a reason they lose every court case. They end up like, you know, every time this comes in front of a judge, there's a reason why this ends up ruling against them. So like, what do you... Is it a violation of free speech to prohibit insider trading? Is it a violation of free speech to prohibit like treasonous activity when your country's at war with another and you're like, do you think it was a violation of the free speech of like pro-Russian agents operating in Ukraine who are disseminating anti-Ukrainian propaganda in 2023 and 2024 that Zelensky like took action to punish and to put an end to? I don't know, man. I mean, these are complicated questions. I guess what I'm saying basically is that I don't want the world to end because 5 people want to be wealthier than they already are, which is infinitely wealthy. I guess, but I'm just saying, like, I think the world ending is bad.
For instance, with TikTok as an example, we have a situation with TikTok where China will probably say, we'll approve a deal, but will you do something on the tariff? The tariffs give us great power to negotiate. Always have. I've used them very well in the first administration, as you saw, but now we're taking it to a whole new.
How do you define lying and stupidity? Do you think it's right to punish the idiot? I think these are valid questions, but I think that right now we're so far over the line that when you express, as I am right now, a general aversion to the legality of this incredibly damaging behavior, that defining the fine edges of it is necessary. Because for one, I'm not writing a law, and for two, we're essentially arguing about what the definition of like assault is or battery when somebody's holding me down and cutting my arm off. You know what I mean? Well, as a person bumping into you on the street, battery, because like that is physical contact, and you can be injured by a person bumping into you. And like, what if you argue there's a level of culpability there because their intent could have been to cut past you quickly? Could that be negligent battery? And like, meanwhile, somebody's like shooting me in the dick over and over, right? Like we're at a degree of severity past the point where it's necessary to argue the fine points, especially when we're just, I don't know. All I know is that the line isn't even in sight anymore.
The level, because it's a worldwide situation, and it's very exciting to see.
So Johnny's saying, well, maybe we'll negotiate. Isn't the point of this to get people to come and negotiate a more favorable situation with the United States? Because like the Israelis, for example, the reports are they're just shocked today because they did what they thought Trump wanted. They dropped their tariff to 0, and then he imposed a new tariff on them anyway. I think there are just some people whose heads are spinning, not because they hate Trump, they just don't understand what they're supposed to do.
So first of all, I do think that actually the way they calculated it is a pretty good way of calculating what people's non-tariff barriers are. That if they are running...
I am pro-tariff now, thank you.
Persistent trade deficits or trade surplus...
I don't want to listen to these fucking guys anymore. I don't know. Didn't I hear you shit in Europe for lack of free speech some time ago? Well, okay, so my criticism of Europe has more to do with the widespread social ramifications of the concept of hate speech in certain applications. But it's not a broad opposition to the idea that there should be limits on speech because everyone agrees on that, right? Slander, libel, etc. It's not, but again, what we're talking about right now is civilization ending, right? Like we are watching, you know, Rome took centuries to collapse. We're watching, like, 2 days, 10% of the stock market was wiped out. We're talking about a level of civilizational collapse, an unforced error, basically unparalleled in modern history, possibly human history, certainly from a superpower. Why? I mean, just